explain to us about the Chingford Seance you went to?
Yeah, the Chingford Seance occurred a few years ago, and what happened there was we had a lady, unbeknown to me at the time, she was a psychic medium. She used to come to our regular meetings that we held in London, and at the close of one of the meetings she says, "Malcolm, would you like to come and look at dead people?" What? Did I hear you right? This is what I've been looking for all my life. Well, we have a seance that we have in my home in Chingford, and we have some fantastic evidence coming through. We've came to your meetings a few times. You can see that you're serious, and we would like to get you involved. So to cut a long story short, I went to her house. It was just a normal council house, nicely decorated. I went along there myself, and before the rest of the guests arrived, because there were 3 other guests and the psychic medium who was going to be there, she took me into one of the bedrooms upstairs and showed me a little glass case. It was about so high from there to there, and it had little glass shelves on it. And on these shelves was a combination of rings on the shelves with little tags on it, military braid, coins. And I says, "What's that?" She says, "Well, Malcolm, these are apples. These are things that fell from mid-air into her laps in the seance room. And when you pick them up, they're hot. Not all the time, but they're usually hot." And I looked at all these things, and they're all numbered. Fascinating, you know. So later on that evening, 3 other people came into the house with the psychic medium. The room in which we were going to do the seance was very small. We only had a small chest of drawers and a bedroom unit with a soft red ambient light on it. I checked all the walls for hidden compartments to see if it was hollow. I checked the floorboards. I checked for any hidden devices or contraptions it could give rise to, maybe a micro cassette with voices. Nothing there, absolutely nothing I could see. In the corner of the room was a big black sheet from one corner to the other. Behind the sheet was a small Winfield plastic chair, of which the medium of that evening was going to sit. I'm telling the story very quickly here, Mark, it's a long story. Anyway, the medium came in. We tied him with very heavy Velcro straps onto the chair, and I checked his person to make sure again there were no hidden devices or anything like that. I was happy, and his socks came out of beneath the curtain, so he was physically enclosed with this. You couldn't see him apart from his white socks. And I checked the straps, etc. After playing some music, just to create the ambience, and a cassette player the medium had in the room, roll out the barrel, Victorian tunes, just to create that ambience for spirit to come through. Suddenly these little bells that were on the walls of this room, little tiny wee bells tacked onto the walls, started to tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. There were no air coming out of the room, the windows were closed, and these were tinkling big style. Then suddenly voices, male, female, kids, young kids, voices coming from all over the room. And I'm sitting there thinking, what on earth's going on here? And you could still see the silhouette in the red ambient light of the other sitters there. We're only about 3 feet from the actual curtain from the psychic. I was still thinking sceptically, even though I believe in life after death, every single investigation, you've got to go in with a closed but slightly open mind until the phenomena shows you otherwise. Okay, maybe throw in their voice. And then suddenly, the black curtain of which the chap sat, it was like a big face had moulded into the actual fabric of this cloth. And you could see the nose, the eye sockets, the chin, and it was moving about like that. And whoa, what's going on here? What the hell is going on here? And I'm looking at this thing. And then suddenly, the whole curtain came right out, and you could still see the chap sitting there. There were nothing, you know, he was still sitting, you know, taped up. And then that went down. I went, wow, that's crazy. And then suddenly, next to this curtain, there was a small chest of drawers with a piece of hardboard. If say for instance this is a piece of hardboard, obviously it's paper, but you can imagine this is it's about the same size, with fluorescent strips on it making the form of a cross. They had charged this under the light and put it on top of the chest of drawers. Suddenly this board started to wobble. Look, that thing's moving. That thing's moving. And suddenly the small chest of drawers, which was quite heavy, rose up into the air and started moving across in midair and just dropped at my feet. And I was astonished at this. I was absolutely gobsmacked at this. And then a voice came out. It says, "Was Mr. Robinson impressed by that?" Yes. Well, I said, "I'd be more impressed if you took it back the way." So we shall see what we can do, was the voice. And so anyway, I put my finger, I did a naughty thing, Mark. I put my finger in the top drawer of this chest of drawers, and I says, this thing, to myself, it's gone nowhere. Nobody could see what I was doing. There was sufficient light, but I don't think anybody could see this. And after a minute or so, this thing started to vibrate, and I tried ever so hard to pull it back with no luck. It just slipped like a hot knife through butter right up into the air and went back from whence it came. And that was just as it went back, the whole room, it was like a big gale, like one of these big wind machines. A big wind, terrific wind came all over the room, and the temperature dropped considerably. And it's just like one of these films. You could see your breath all frosting up. It was absolutely freezing. And just then this face came all over the sheet again. It was absolutely scary. And then a voice says, Mr. Robinson has not checked our medium. Would he care to step forward? Wow, I've never had this before. So I walked only 2 paces, only 3 feet, moved the curtain back, and this chap was still sitting in his chair all strapped up. He had his head gently resting on his chest. Where the glow came from, I don't know, but he had this beautiful, radiant, soft glow all over his face. Where's that coming from? And I checked his body, nothing there, and I checked the straps are still very, very tight. And I just don't know what, to this day I don't know what went on.
Wow.
Very bizarre. That's the short version.